So more than 1,100 families have been separated at the U.S.-Mexico border since the end of the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy. That's according to new numbers provided by the American Civil Liberties Union by the government. CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez has the story.
On Sundays, Estuardo tries to spend the entire day with his 5-year-old son, Ariel. The migrant father from Guatemala is trying to make up for the 4 months he was apart from his son following their separation by Border Patrol. Estuardo and Ariel were not separated during the zero-tolerance border crackdown in 2018. It happened this spring in one of more than 1,100 separations since a federal judge said the administration could only separate families in limited circumstances. The American Civil Liberties Union cited Estuardo's case in a July court filing that accused the administration of exploiting loopholes in last summer's court ruling to continue separating hundreds of families.
We are very concerned about the ongoing separations and have gone back to court about it.
The ACLU has accused the administration of relying on minor crimes and even mere suspicion to justify more separations.
We have made clear to the court, if a parent is genuinely a danger to their child, we of course want the child separated. But what we're finding out is that the government has this approach of categorically separating based on even the most minor criminal offenses.
The ACLU has asked the federal court in San Diego to set up a more rigorous process, arguing that determinations to separate families should be made by child welfare experts, not law enforcement officers. But the administration has opposed this, calling it a messy approach. Estuardo was not separated from Ariel because he had a criminal history. Border Patrol initially did not believe Ariel was his son. Estuardo said one officer accused them of smuggling Ariel to exploit legal protections for migrant families.
Él me decía, aquí yo mando, me decía, aquí estás en mi país, no estás en tu país. Aquí yo puedo hacer todo lo que quiera.
The father said the officers did not believe him because he showed them a photocopy of Ariel's birth certificate. The ACLU and advocates also said Estuardo's speech impediment created some miscommunication that in part led to the separation.
Yo me asusté, porque yo pensaba que me iban a quitar mi niño y de veras me lo quitaron.
Estuardo would spend more than 4 months in immigration custody in Arizona, while Ariel was taken to a shelter hundreds of miles away in New York City. The two reunited in September after several advocacy groups were able to track them down, contest their separation, and pressure the administration to release them.
Me puse a llorar que 4 meses y 15 días que me repasaron de él.
Customs and Border Protection did not comment on the family's separation, but a spokesperson said the agency is complying with last summer's court ruling and that separations only occur to ensure the safety of the child. The ACLU expects the administration to disclose even more separations in the coming months.
The kind of public outcry we saw 2 summers ago is what we need now, because otherwise it's just going to go sight unseen and little babies are going to be scarred for life.
Estuardo, who has now enrolled Ariel in kindergarten near their new home in Tampa, agrees.
Yo no quiero que le pasen a esa familia de veras como me pasó a mí, porque es un dolor que siente toda la familia.
All right, Camilo is joining us now from Washington. So, Camilo, can you just remind viewers about how the policy has changed? Because we've done a number of these stories, and I know we went from zero tolerance to no zero tolerance, but it doesn't seem like a lot has changed on the ground in terms of the fact that families are still being separated. So how has the policy been altered?
So good morning, Anne-Marie. Some separations occurred during the administrations of Presidents Obama and Bush, but they were generally limited to circumstances when parents presented a danger to their children. What the Trump administration implemented last spring, as you remember, Anne-Marie, was a policy across the entire southern border in which parents were separated from their children and prosecuted for illegal entry while their children were sent to shelters across the U.S. After that massive public outcry, a federal judge in California ordered the administration to reunite families separated separated during this crackdown. That number stands at more than 2,800. The judge also said officials could only separate families in limited circumstances, including when a parent presented a danger to their child. What the ACLU is saying now is that the administration is exploiting what are essentially loopholes in this ruling last summer to continue separating more than 1,100 families and justifying those separations on minor crimes committed by the parents and even errors like what clearly happened in Estuardo's case.
So speaking of his case where there was a miscommunication, he had a birth certificate. It was just a photocopied version of it, which, you know, a lot of people don't carry around the original document because it's pretty important. You don't want to get it lost. So in terms of that story, is this an isolated story, or, you know, is this a problem that we're seeing coming up over and over again with families?
It doesn't seem to be. In another case cited by the ACLU, a 4-year-old girl was separated from her father after officials said the birth certificate he provided was fraudulent. Like in Estuardo's case, the family we profiled in that piece, that proved to be false. So the documents were authentic. So for the ACLU, these cases highlight the need, Anne-Marie, for a more rigorous process to oversee separations. They believe determinations to separate families should be made by child welfare experts, not law enforcement officers like Border Patrol agents.
And in regards to families who had been separated, how many of the families have been reunited?
As of this month's 2,791 of the 2,814 migrant children identified as eligible for reunification have been released from U.S. custody. Most have been reunited with parents and other family members. But Anne-Marie, let's remember that in addition to those families who were separated during zero tolerance, more than 1,500 migrant children, including about 200 under the age of 5, were separated between July 2017 and June of 2018. This is when zero tolerance ended. And the ACLU does not know how many of these children have been reunited and has faced ample difficulty trying to reach the parents of hundreds of them because the phone numbers the administration has provided have been outdated and stale.
Oh my goodness. You know, you worry about what the long-term implications are, the long-term damage. Camilo, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie.
So be sure to check out Camilo's full article. You can find that at cbsnews.com. Many immigrants moving to